All right, and welcome back to the Breadcrumbs Project. I am your host, Euripides Crumb, and I am the host, the producer, director, and chief bottle washer of the Breadcrumbs Project. So welcome one and all, and especially I do repost this as a video, so welcome to that when you do watch it, at whatever time frame you're watching it. What we're doing today is continuing on with our appreciation of the effort that's been going on by a portion of our intelligence community for the last 50 to 60 years. So this is going over a couple of careers, actually several careers, to try to right the ship that that is the United States of America. And hopefully that is what's happening. Although I've been watching this as a Q participant for quite a while, sometimes I have my own doubts, and I think that's healthy. So what I've been surprised to learn about is the Committee of 300 at such an in-depth level as Dr. John Coleman, who we're about to listen to again, goes into. I've been reviewing this video for a few episodes now. It's something that I enjoy doing because it's history, and it's the establishment of our history that has been hidden from us, for a long time, and for all the wrong reasons for us and right reasons for them. So let's continue on with a little bit of Dr. John Coleman, and I'll stop and interject when I feel I have to.
They were called that because of the evilness of their deeds. They made Lucrezia Borgia look like a Sunday school teacher. They had so much money, which is the outcome of the drug trade, the years of investing, the years of gaining control of every man.
All right, just to give a pause right here so that we can take a look. Let's see, we are at 46.7. I've already got you downloaded.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you a message of hope, not fear. A message to make Lucrezia Borgia look like a Sunday school teacher.
All right, sorry about that. So we're going through some of the older families of the, let's go ahead and back it up a little bit more so you can add a little bit of context for you guys. So the Committee of 300 is a European-based group, although they have tentacles all over the world, but they're not very present in Asia, that we can tell. Very much not present in Russia, kicked out of Russia several times, and all deep in the United States. So, and it's all due to money and influence. So let's pick it up with Dr. Coleman's somewhere where we can pick up what he's talking about now.
But none of their families ever got it. So I began seeking for the answers, and I found them in the Cairo Museum. So people said, well, how come, if these things are true, how are they going to protect themselves? They being the Committee of 300, their servants and their families, they have the means of protecting themselves by certain types of herbal compounds mixed with sugar. And they also have, of course, the protection of extremely low frequency radiation, where using the technology developed by the great virologist Goethe, who proved that every living thing on this earth has a vibratory cycle, and he was able to measure the vibratory cycle of various deadly viruses, and by vibrating them double their cycle, he would kill them instantly. So that's one of the defensive weapons that these people have got that will kill the plague if they ever get it. The same technique, of course, will kill cancer cells. But the medical profession, run by the Rockefeller family and all the pharmaceutical companies, do not want you to know this, because when you go in for the doctor, he's going to write you a prescription for a chemical drug. There's no chemical drug benefit out of extremely low frequency radiation. I'm
stopping it here for a second, kind because he is right on the money, okay, about this. The medical profession is all about dispensing pills. The human body is an amazing, amazing, an engineered marvel. An engineered marvel that can heal itself. And I have been growing older. I'm now 60 years old, and I'm having age issues that come with 60 years old. One of the biggest ones that come for us is hip replacement surgery. And my family, my dad's side of the family, has been famous for their bad hips. And so it started hitting me pretty good about a month ago. I was starting to feel hip pain. I teach standing up, and I do a lot of sitting down, and I didn't know that this was important. And now I'm able to do the research online, go to different YouTube videos that are presented by professionals, by either chiropractors or physical therapists who talk about natural ways of addressing hip pain so that you don't have to pursue a hip replacement. And sure enough, a couple of exercises and my hip is feeling much better. No pain. But if I was going to a medical doctor in America and not doing my own research, I would be scheduling myself for hip replacement surgery because the pain was too much, getting to be too much. Now I have very little pain, and as long as I keep doing the workouts, my hips are just fine. And it's basically clenching your butt muscles. As you get into your 50s, squeeze your butt muscles for about 30 to 40 seconds, a few times an hour, and that will strengthen your backside, which, believe it or not, becomes weak and weakened over time, and that's what causes most hip pains. A doctor will not tell you that. He'll schedule you for surgery and give you some painkillers and see how long you can hold out till you have that surgery. Not telling you anything about natural ways to do this. So that's just one small thing. Another small thing, by the way, out there, you people, oil pulling. Rinsing your mouth with either coconut oil and or one that I use that I enjoy very much is olive oil. So coconut oil and olive oil are excellent for your teeth and regenerating your gum growth. So I had, as you get older, my gums started to recede, and I was going to have to go look for a therapy until I started looking online and seeing oil pulling and seeing the benefits of that on myself. And some of these things I wish I had known sooner, but thank goodness it's out there now. But doctors just want to push pills, as the Rockefeller Foundation has made clear.
Vibration, no profit to these people. So that's the Global 2000. Decimate the world's population and particularly hit hard the United States middle class. How are they financing all of this stuff? They're financing it through the Fondi, who I mentioned to you earlier, the Venetian black nobility. Now, why are they called the black nobility? They're called that because of the vileness and the evilness of their deeds. These families date back to the 11th centuries, the Lucatis, the Recanatis. They were called, and the Guelphs, by the way, I'll come to them, they're particularly interesting. They were called that because of the evilness of their deeds. They make Lucrezia Borgia look like a Sunday school teacher. They had so much money, which is the outcome of the drug trade, the years of investing, the years of gaining control of every mining, mineral, gold, oil, natural resource of the world, that they can afford to finance these things. So the black nobility are the ancient aristocrats of Venice and Genoa, and they called that because of the nature of their deeds. The black Guelphs were one of the worst of them. Now, interesting enough, the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, is a Guelph. She's not a Windsor. This was a title that was evolved in 1935 by her father to put researchers off the track. I like to include myself in that category, although I wasn't doing it then. I was much too young to be doing it, but he didn't like that certain people were getting hot on the track of who this royal family actually was, and so this was put out that they are the House of Windsor. They are not, they're the House of Guelph, and it's important for us to know that, because every time there's a financial crisis, it follows a meeting of the Black Guelphs upon the Royal Britannia yacht of the Queen of England, which anchors off the coast of Venice, and all the world bankers meet over there and say, now this is what we're going to do to country X, this is how we're going to control this worldwide situation, and then they go off and give their orders to everybody. So that is the way it is done. I told you earlier that they controlled the United States. Even in the days of President Lincoln, they had him assassinated on the orders of Disraeli, and they then, of course, in later years were able to elect one of the worst socialists we've ever had the misfortune to suffer under, Woodrow Wilson. Wilson was elected by a ploy. Of course, they got Teddy Roosevelt and the Bull Moose Party running as a supposedly third candidate to siphon votes off so that Wilson could be elected as a socialist president. Now, our eyes have been fixed on Moscow. We've been led down the garden path, ladies and gentlemen. All of the time we've been looking at Moscow, and we've been told what demons they are in Moscow. Rightly so. But all the time this was going on, the Trojan horse of socialism in Washington, D.C. has been stealing our country away from us. And in my book, Socialism, The Road to Slavery, I give you a full and factual description of exactly how this was done. In 1898, the Fabian Society, a socialist organization, sent Ramsay MacDonald, Prime Minister of England, to the United States to spy out the land. He came back and he said, there are two things in the way. You have a very strong middle class, and you have the Constitution of the United States, both of which have got to be destroyed before we can socialize America. The first step they took was getting a socialist president in office in the form of Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was controlled out of England by Sir William Wiseman, head of the North American desk of MI6. Now, in case you don't know MI6, it is the most powerful and the oldest of all intelligence agencies in the world. They taught the CIA, they taught the Vatican intelligence, they taught the French intelligence, they taught the Mossad, they taught the Cheka. Captain Hill of MI6 went out and set up the Mossad, and Captain Hill went to Russia and helped the Bolsheviks set up their single-cell apparatus. Sir William Wiseman was the controller of Wilson through Colonel House. Now, who is Colonel House? He was an unknown person who emerged out of Texas. His father served the Rothschilds during the Civil War, and he emerged out of the war as the only person in Texas who'd made any money. And House was sent to Washington in order to control the first socialist president, and he took his orders from Wiseman, and House lived but a few blocks away from Wilson, and above him, Wiseman had an apartment. And that type of control is not gone. It is still here to this very day, right now, as I speak to you. Other questions? Give us some examples of what you're talking. How do we know that what you're saying is true? I'll refer you to the great soldier son of the United States of America, General Douglas MacArthur, a great patriot, a great warrior, a great Christian. When Douglas MacArthur was in Korea, he and General Stratemeyer of the Air Force devised a plan that would have put China out of action for the next 50 years. He submitted this plan to Washington. An arch-socialist, one of the most vilest creatures who ever walked this earth by the name of Dean Rusk, immediately summoned the President of the United States to a meeting in Blair House. And he said, Mr. President, we have seen the plan submitted by General Douglas MacArthur, and there's no way in the world that you can allow him to implement this plan. And Truman said, why not? He said, you know very well that anything that relates to China has to be cleared by the Royal Institute for International Affairs first. And he said, they don't want you to do this. And MacArthur was not allowed to carry out his plan. And 50,000 sons, beautiful Americans, were slaughtered on the battlefields of Korea needlessly because of orders from the Royal Institute for International Affairs. And that same institute is controlling President William Jefferson Clinton to this day. MacArthur was eventually bowler-hatted on the orders of the British government. I mentioned earlier the death of John F. Kennedy. Given the methods that are well known in intelligence circles of how to get rid of bothersome people, it would have been a very simple matter to make it look as though Kennedy had died of a heart attack or some other natural cause. Instead of that, in order to warn every president that would follow in his wake, every powerful person in this country in the know, you do not kick over the traces. You obey us, or you will see what will happen to you. Kennedy was publicly and brutally executed in a plan carried out by British MI6 under the control of Sir William Stevenson and his lieutenant, a Canadian citizen by the name of Major Louis Mortimer Bloomfield. Now, you won't get that in any of the accounts of the Kennedy assassination. You'll find it in my book, The Committee of 300. You'll also find it in my monographs about the Kennedy assassination. Who are these people? Sir William Stevenson ran American intelligence throughout the Second World War out of the RCA building in New York. His second in command, a Canadian citizen, Major Louis Mortimer Bloomfield, ran Division 5 of the FBI counterintelligence. You want examples of how Britain controls this country? I have given you them. I've also told you that every Secretary of State since 1919 is selected by the Royal Institute for International Affairs on the orders of the Committee of 300. Why is this? We go to these conventions and there's all the hoopla in the world. The balloons are flying, the straw boaters are in the air. Bush has been elected conservative president. Reagan has been elected. What happens in reality? The Secretary of State, who's charged with carrying out the policies, subverts each and every one of them. You show me a Secretary of State that has acted in the best interest of the United States of America since 1919, and I will give you the only money that I've got in the bank, which is about $1,500. You're welcome to it, because I know that you will not be able to do that. Every Secretary of State has subverted and acted in a treasonable manner towards the people of this great country. And when they haven't done it directly, they've done it through surrogates like Lachlan Curry, who ordered the military to jettison a shipment of arms destined for the great Chinese leader Chiang Kai-shek, to jettison.
So yeah, this is how it has been done to us, and Dr. Coleman, who is obviously working on behalf of a better side of the intelligence agencies because of his depth of knowledge. This is not stuff that any old researcher could pick up along the way. He is speaking for a portion of our intelligence agency that really didn't have the full grasp of what was being done to us and by whom. But yes, ultimately it is the Committee of 300, the black nobility, the 13 families that have been controlling Europe and America and the world by proxy through that. So this is stout news for us to hear. But yes, every Secretary of State, the State Department is structured and has been structured to be against us. If you've heard of how USAID functioned or dysfunctioned against our country, just so much of the Department of State, especially the CIA, has been against our country. When's the last time we've caught a spy? When's the last time that we have been able to bust a narco ring? We have all these laws set up to monitor funds, but yet nobody gets busted. And there are drugs all over that country of the United States of America and around the world. So yes, we have been in a bad way for a long time. And I'm hoping that by the actions that I'm seeing from Trump and this administration that's been in place for such a long time is in fact doing the right thing. There are moments that I have doubt, but then there are moments that I have a little bit of relief. But yes, I am going to be on my toes for the rest of my life. They made me be this way.
Overboard these arms in the Indian Ocean, and that's exactly what they did. We think that we elect our presidents. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not elect our presidents. They are selected for us long before we'd even heard of them. And I've given you 2 examples this morning of how this is done. The 300 office at Aspen keeps a tight control over every political event that takes place in this country. And it was this office, through Margaret Thatcher, that ordered President Bush to violate the Constitution of the United States of America and to violate his own personal oath to uphold the laws of the United States by sending our troops to the Gulf War against Iraq, a nation that had never done us any harm. And we did it by the dirtiest of dirtiest tricks. We got the daughter of one of the Al-Shabaab clan, there are over 400 of these people, and these are the most degenerate, disgusting people that you'd ever come across. The ruler has 140 wives. He doesn't have them all at the same time. When he gets tired of one, he says, I divorced thee 3 times, and she's gone. When the Iraqi troops came in there and they turned it over to the Red Cross in Geneva, 140 marriage certificates. This is the man that your sons and your daughters are propping up today in Kuwait in a most illegal manner, in violation of the Constitution of the United States of America. And Bush did a Texas 2-step around the Constitution. He did not get the mandatory declaration of war. I'm not a lawyer, but I've studied the annals of Congress, the congressional globes, and the congressional records for 25 years. And in those pages will be found more wisdom, more in-depth information about the Constitution than you'll ever get from any law school. Anyway, most of the law schools have professors far to the left of Marx, and they don't know anything much about the Constitution. I talked to a few people, one lawyer in Congress, I said, what do you know about the Constitution? Well, I got 1 semester of law when I was at law school, and in that was something about the Constitution. Our Constitution is not even taught in the United States school system. Isn't that an utter...
Boom. There it is. Our educational system, our law system, our whole system is corrupt. If our lawyers who are presently practicing don't know anything about the Constitution and are not educated fundamentally on the Constitution, then we are at the point that we are because it's just money and power, and it's just lawyers talking lawyer talk. Everything that we are as a country in America is constitutional, based on the Constitution, which is something that is heaply ignored. New laws are passed, and there are violations of the Constitution. So this has been going on since the 60s, the 50s. Because other countries have been controlling our laws and our lawyers. So yeah, this is where I'm going to leave it at today. This is the place to leave it at. Think about that. Our Constitution has been ignored, not talked about, or even invoked in decades.